Captain, we got a problem. You better see this.
We are under attack, taking heavy casualties. I repeat, heavy casualties. Need evac. They came out of nowhere. We need...
This mission just got a lot more complicated. This attack is an act of war. Saren's gone rogue.
Destroy the entire colony. Leave no evidence that we were here.
He has an army of Geth at his command. And he won't stop until he's wiped humanity from the face of the galaxy.
I'll find some way to take him down.
If we lose, it's the end of all life as we know it.
You have no idea what stands before you.
The fate of an entire galaxy is at stake. We will stop Saren, no matter what the cost.
Your species needs to learn its place, Shepard. You've lost. You know that, don't you?
Let's finish this!
This is our only chance. Get it with everything we got.
Saren must be stopped. And I plan to make him pay. Shoot that fucker!
Commander Jane Shepard, Alliance Navy and the first human Spectre orders her team of an ex-C second Turian officer Garrus Vicarian now freelancer and Krogan mercenary Rex to keep shooting at the ex-Spectre, ex-Turian, ex-being within the laws of nature Saren Arterius. Now a Reaper freak of nature, yes Reaper. Not the Grim Reaper convict giant spaceship, robot species. She thought that when she apparently convinced the poor bastard to shoot himself, and then telling her squad to double tap him, that would be the end of it, at least for her team, while she would upload Vigil and stop the Sovereign from zapping the Reapers into the middle of the galaxy. Then what she would do after the mission, what she didn't brief the rest of her team on, would be to take like a 2-year nap. And maybe after that some coffee with Garrus, but who knows? Oh yeah, and maybe convince the entire galaxy that a damn super robot race million or something years old would invade and kill everyone. But maybe not, since the Council don't seem like someone who would listen to logic.
No!
She thought calmly.
The bastard had to just shed skin and organs and start walking again like a zombie, and not even the nice dragging, barely holding together, slow kind but grasshopper on Kitaman with jits in his S-type.
She and her team keep on shooting and shooting, but the bastard keeps dodging and dodging. They too dodges slashes of claws and shots has firing. But more they fight him, the more time Sovereign has to bring in the Reaper fleet.
Sovereign's too strong. We have to pull back.
Negative. This is our only chance. Take that monster down no matter what the cost.
Shepard, we're getting pummeled out here, not in a good way.
Joker blurred through the comms. Shepard couldn't remark on that as she dodged more Saren/Sovereign attacks while shooting at the encroaching Geth. She opened the Citadel to let the fleet in to save the Council and to stop Sovereign, but the later was difficult, being apparently smart enough to fight both on ground through Saren and the fleet outside. And the clock is ticking. She used the freeze ammo to slow him down and punched a Geth in the visor, hitting both but stopping only one, the less important. Saren landed next to her and was ready to slash her when Rex rammed him away and Garrus shot him in the head. Not that there was much of it left before, still she appreciates the save.
Thanks.
She says, short on breath from the day's fighting.
No problem.
Garrus says in that voice of his.
Of course he does.
Rex snickers. Shepard rolls her eyes but quickly zones in on the skeletal freak.
Shepard.
She asked the dark. Everything ached as she was surrounded by darkness.
Bright open eyes.
She reminded herself and opened them. She looked around, seeing the debris of the citadel and dead Reaper.
Reaper!
She panicked inwardly.
Shepard.
The voice of Garrus Vicarian caught her attention. He seemed worried, but when he looked into her eyes he seemed to calm somewhat. But she had an important question.
Did it work?
She asked, prepared to hear that no, they failed, and the galaxy was now flooded with ancient robot-killing machines. Garrus looked around as though looking for clues.
It seems that way.
He shrugged.
You sure?
She asked, incredulous.
If they are here, it's the most boring invasion in history.
Rex scoffs. Now, knowing she won't learn anything useful from these two idiots, she decides to go straight to a little more reliable source.
Joker, you there?
Commander, you still alive?
Joker asked. She snickered.
Of course then.
She replied, only little offended.
Was worried I got you with the Sovereign bits, because after all I got the finishing blow.
She would hardly believe him, but there were still more pressing issues.
Joker, did we do it? Did we stop Sovereign in time?
He didn't reply for a few moments.
Nothing new on our radars, no new enemy forces. The few Geth are being taken care of, everything else seems fine.
But that isn't all, is it?
She thought.
What happened? I mean, what did you see outside?
She asked as she saw Anderson walking over and Garrus and Rex checking their wounds.
Well, we were getting our asses kicked.
Damn.
She cursed herself for being so slow.
And then Sovereign fell off like a salted leech, and then we shot him to pieces. And then...
Shepard asked, a worry in her voice.
Well, the station light up like a mass relay.
Her heart skipped a beat at that.
So we failed, but if so, where are the Reapers?
She thought.
Does it mean we failed?
She asked, visibly nervous.
Hey, all I know is there aren't any Reapers here, and no part of the galaxy is reporting in any massive invasions, and the links are fine too.
Joker deadpanned like he answered her for the 10th time. Which he probably did.
Can you blame me?
She thought.
The entire galaxy was on my shoulders the last few hours or the months we have been chasing Saren.
She sighed.
Understood, and good work, Joker. You can't put Sovereign's head on the front of the ship.
He laughed.
No thanks, I like my ship clean and smooth.
He replied. It seemed that it all worked out in the end without any unforeseen consequences.
What in the Emperor's name happened?
Asked the captain of the Ultramarines chapter, Octavius Calgerius, aboard his strike cruiser Heavencrest. No one replied immediately, which was making the captain's fists clench. They had been trying to cross the Cicatrix Maledictum with the rest of the fleet, but were swept in the warp's malignant waves. They drifted in the warp storm for 15 standard days, but Emperor knows how long it was in real space.
Well, what happened?
He asked through clenched teeth.
We're not sure, Captain.
The shipmaster said. Captain Octavius decided to address the crew directly.
Report.
He yelled at the crew. Though he was a proud member of the Ultramarines known for their discipline and diplomacy, he needed answers now. He was a relatively young space marine, and especially young captain living for 300 years, and only the last century was he a captain.
Calculation heights are being performed.
An adept said. The young captain steeled himself and breathed deeply while waiting.
Right, it breaks spoil the aim, storming thoughts, create doubt, angry slashes miss their mark.
He thought to himself.
Calculating rights have been performed in the machine, God's name.
The monotone voice of a console-integrated servitor croaked.
Well?
The captain asked, calmer now but still awaiting answer eagerly.
The ship had left the inventory, and we are currently residing within real space.
The servitor continued.
Show us.
The captain said.
Right away. Pull back the blast shields.
The shipmaster ordered. The crew did so, and soon they could see outside. And instead of the malevolent energies that reside within the warp, they could see stars, other ships, and just hardly some planets that were within reasonable distance of travel by real space.
What is the status of our fleet?
He asked.
Connecting box links, performing rights of calculation, comparing between departed and arrived vessels.
It took a few minutes before he got his answer. In that time he was doing his own calculations.
We got out of the warp. That's good. Now we will just assess our strength and see if we reach the Imperium Nihilus or if the blasted warp sent us back.
He thought.
Captain, the fleet is reporting incapacity of 92%. Most of the lost ships were of little value. Mostly civilian, military vessels lost are a minority in the lost group.
Captain Calgerius breathed a sigh of relief and thanked the Emperor for such luck.
Good. We are very fortunate indeed. We have lost little, and what we lost is inconsequential.
He thought.
Tell the astrogators to find our position on the galactic map. Then tell the astropats to make contact with Tura and...
Captain!
Another crew member interjected. She realized what she did and then continued calmly.
My apologies, but the Astropas are unresponsive. They keep saying that they can reach Terra, and it's not just us. All the Astropas in the fleet are like this.
The captain pondered but then dismissed it.
There's nothing to worry about them. The Astronomicon is invisible on the other side of the Cicatrix Maledictum, so we reached our target.
He said, but what she said next shocked him.
But my lord, they also say they can reach anyone on this side too, and not only that they can't even see the deer, they can see the eye or anything, but our fleet.
The crewwoman said. For the first time in centuries, the captain was at a loss for words.
The Astrogators, what do they say? Where are we?
The crew members all looked at the one who must have a direct connection with the Astrogators. He turned around with fear in his eyes.
Oh!
The captain growled without any finesse.
Well, I know.
He stuttered.
What is it?
The captain roared. The crew all froze in terror. Finally the crew member uttered the dreaded words.
They don't know where we are. We are lost, my lord.
There was a deafening silence broken only by the humming of ship's machinery and other ambient noises. The captain didn't say anything for a few moments, looking at the crew, then the visible ships and finally the planets far away in his field of vision.
No matter.
He concluded.
My lord.
The shipmaster asked.
We all knew that this mission would be hard. What isn't hard in life? We were sent by our Lord Gillen to strengthen humanity's grip on the Gatia and to destroy any of those heretics in our path. What does it matter where we are? It hardly matters anyway, since there's either the Imperium or heresy. We knew there was a risk that we couldn't reach Terra, and we did anyway. Why? Because that is our duty, and our duty only ends after our deaths. Of Emperador, of Terra, of Macrage.
The crew cheered.
Shipmaster, we will lead by example. Set a course for the nearest planet and inform the rest of the fleet. We shall begin our crusade there.
He ordered the de facto captain of the vessel.
Yes, Captain.
He began issuing orders to the crew, but he ignored that. He set his part and decided to take a walk to clear his head and find his battle brothers to prepare for battle.
There's much work to be done,
he said to himself.
What was that, sir?
His escort asked him, both walking through the ship's interior, passing by mortal crew and marines of the firstborn and Primaris variety.
We have a very varied fleet, brother. It's gonna take a lot to keep it all together, lest we all become victims to the hubris of man,
he said, looking out the window at the purple planet and already seeing drop pods and other vehicles descending towards its surface. After the meeting with Shepard and officially admitting Anderson as humanity's representative, Counselor Speratus decided he really needed a break.
That Shepard truly can get things done. Good job for a human.
He mused. Though he must admit, the more he thinks about it, the more ridiculous it is. An ancient race of giant spaceship machines that comes every once in a while and exterminates all life in the universe?
That's ridiculous. Spectres have no restrictions. Could Saren possibly have taken over the Geth while they were building the Jane ship? And if that were the case, he could easily come up with a story to terrify us and...
He was stopped rationalizing by a ping on his Omni tool. He looked at who it is and gave it an uneasy rumble. He then breathed in and picked it up.
Primarch Fedorian.
Speratus nodded to the Turian on the other side of the screen.
Counselor Speratus, I am calling you to inform you of our new policy concerning the hierarchy as a whole.
Speratus raised his eyebrows at that. Humming in question.
And what is this new policy?
Total war.
Speratus lost his breath, then frantically looking around as though looking for hidden cameras or anything else.
Surely you just Fedorian.
Speratus's sub-vocals were all over the place.
It's Primarch Fedorian to you. This is no joke. Considering the recent events have concluded it prudent we must become ready, and you must help the cause too.
The Primarch said matter-of-factly. The counselor, too stumped to even think, just asked.
How can I help?
That's obvious.
The Primarch replied.
Push any legislations, lower any and all taxes. Anything and everything to give us an edge.
Speratus finally found his mind and countered.
Primarch Fedorian, I assure you the attack on the Citadel was an unique event perpetrated by Saren. The remaining Geth are dealt with and whichever escaped will be hunted down, so there's no reason to...
I am not talking about the Reapers nor the Geth. Watch this, you will understand that we must be ready for the fight of our lives.
The counselor was confused till a vid was sent to him.
What is this?
He asked.
It's 2 days old now. But when you watch it, you realize we have wasted too much time already.
The Primarch replied with what seemed as uneasiness. Speratus nodded stiffly, worried of what possibly could be on the vid. He started playing it. It displayed a helmet feat of a Turian soldier in a platoon going somewhere.
What are we doing out here, Sarge?
The one in front of the person filming said.
Something fell out of the sky near one of our communication towers. We must investigate what it is and if the tower is okay.
The one who Sparatus assumed was the sergeant at the back of the line said.
And I was worried I would be fighting pirates here. This is the most fun in the last 2 months, looking at some space trash and checking some stupid tower.
Another soldier between the sergeant and the cameraman said.
You should be worried about what I will do to you next time you speak without having anything smart to say while on a mission, Daryl. And pray to the spirits it isn't just space junk. You are too hot-headed for your own good.
Yes, sir.
The one called Daryl grumbled. They walked some more before they could see the tower.
There's the tower.
The sergeant said and started giving orders.
Daryl, you and Brutus check the surrounding area. It should have fallen closely. Huskus, check that tower. Macreen, you with me?
Yes, sir.
All the soldiers in the platoon yelled. That's what Sparatus liked to see, a proper trained force, professional even in the most boring environments. At least, that's what he thought until the one called Daryl started speaking to the cameraman Brutus.
Barefaced bastard.
Daryl muttered. Brutus decided to ignore that and instead changed the theme of the conversation.
So have you heard about what happened at the Citadel?
Brutus asked.
Yes, I'm getting that traitor Saren apparently attacked the Citadel. A shame we are rotten here. While we could have seen some action, we would have shown those lampheads. Perhaps.
Brutus mused.
Apparently he was killed by some human, forget the name of her. Yes, it was definitely a female.
Daryl said.
Commander Shepard.
Brutus reminded him.
Yeah, that's right.
Daryl said. Then he looked around and walked closer to Brutus.
So, would you do her?
Brutus then laughed hard at that.
Why do you ever think about anything else? Hey, I am normally not into humans, but with her, I could be persuaded.
He replied nonchalantly.
You didn't answer the question.
They were silent for a while, walking to a small hill with trees at the top. Sparatus didn't understand. There was, so far, nothing noteworthy. That was before the rest of the vid played, and it would mark him for the rest of his life.
Yes.
Brutus finally answered.
I knew it.
Daryl exclaimed, and they both laughed some more. They reached the top of the hill, and then saw something behind the trees.
What's that? Hey, Sergeant, we have found something about a click to the east.
Daryl said into his comms.
Not sure. Copy that. Let's check it out.
Daryl said, no doubt talking with the sergeant. They walked a little more, having a clear view of a clearing where there were weird metal objects. Sparatus couldn't make anything of it, and apparently they couldn't too.
What are those?
Brutus asked.
Don't know, but we should.
He didn't get further than that before suddenly, in the blink of an eye, his head disappeared, leaving behind for a few microseconds a ball of fire and dark azure. Brutus's visor was smeared with the stuff, and in that puddle on his visor he could see a bright blue eye. Only then did Sparatus realize that the azure was the Daryl's blood and brain matter in his entire head. Brutus must have realized it too, since he immediately dropped to the ground and ran the way he came. Only sounds of his running feet hitting the ground and his hyperventilating breath were audible. He ran right to the tower where he could see the sergeant. His body at first showed confusion before looking up and raising his gun and opening fire. The comms suddenly blared with his scream.
Contact east!
The sergeant yelled into the comms. Brutus didn't turn around, he just kept running. While he was passing by the sergeant, he did gaze at him. Right on time to see a monstrous armored creature come running insanely fast and slicing the sergeant in two with a terrible sounding weapon that made the counselor's blood turn to ice. Instead of one stalwart defender and a leader, now were two halves of a body independent by all but flowing blood. Even his guts were flailing around, disconnected from the other. This spooked Brutus too, since he tried to dodge right while running, so instead he fell to the ground. There were for a few seconds blurry images since he was rolling down a slope. When he finally stopped rolling, he started crawling forward, ignoring the gunfight and the screams of his comrades, until he heard heavy mechanical steps. He stopped and rolled onto his back. He was greeted by an absolutely terrifying image. It was bipedal with 5 fingers. It held 2 what he assumed were weapons. Based on the number of fingers and the structure of the legs, he would assume it was an Asari, a Batarian, or even a human. But that was ridiculous. No human was so large, moved so fast. The thing, whatever it was, must have been at least 2 meters tall, with glowing red eyes and instead of face, skull. It turned its head slightly to the side, seemingly intrigued by the soldier. Behind it, Sparatus could see some metal objects shaped like those before, but now he could also see a shape in the sky. It was absolutely massive and looked like a ship. Before he could analyze it any further, the being straightened its head and raised its foot above the head of the lying Turian. Suddenly the comm tower exploded and the being stomped down. There was only a second of cracked screen and then nothing. The counselor Sparatus sat there, absolutely horrified. He must have sat there without moving an inch, because the Primarch called again. He let it ring for almost a minute before snapping back to it and realizing what he had to do.
We have to prepare or this will be the end of all the life in the universe.
He concluded to himself before answering the Primarch and discussing the tasks both had to perform. After filling her crew on their next assignment, her non-alliance crew decided they had quite enough for now. Maybe Rex hadn't had enough, but he still decided he had to do other stuff too. On to Chanka, he said, might visit him if she can. Tally and Liara also had their own lives. Caden and Ashley will stay on Normandy because they have no choice, and Garrus well.
Sorry, Shepard, but I think it's too much action for this cup. I just need a little breather, and after that maybe I can go save the galaxy again.
She laughed, a little envious that he could choose to not go, to not have the council behind him kicking his ass forward, and also a little sad until.
And when you get back, perhaps we could go for some of that coffee you humans so like.
I don't think it would be much enjoyment for Dixtro.
She teased.
Well, bad food and drinks aren't as bad if you got the right company.
He smiled warmly, and she replied in kind.
It's a deal.
It warmed her heart when she said it. It even warmed her as a memory now that she was floating in the void of space. Normandy down, suit breached, at least Joker, Caden, Ashley and hopefully most of the crew made it out. She went to investigate some missing colonies that could have been caused by Geth attacks. But instead Normandy got zapped by something else entirely. Some rock-looking ship with very powerful weapons which cut the Normandy in half. But that's not important right now.
Damn.
She said out loud, lungs burning and eyes heavy.
Sorry, Garrus. Looks like I won't make it on our date on time.
She then floated, so more eyes closing. Last thing she remembers is her shallowing breath, and then darkness. Nothing but darkness.
Hello.
A voice spoke to her ears, or perhaps her mind directly? She didn't know what it was, but the voice was terrifying. It sounded ancient and wicked. She would never think that she could hear something like that in any voice, yet there it was clear as day, and then she saw it.
The others may not be interested in you. They can barely see you, but you're good enough for me.
It chuckled darkly.
Where am I? What is that thing? Am I dead? And is this hell?
She thought in her head, or so she thought.
Ah, yes, quite so, Shepard. Yes, Shepard.
The thing spoke like it could hear her thoughts, or did she say it out loud without realizing?
In here, saying and thinking are the same thing.
It seemed to draw closer, or did it stay put? It was hard to say. It looked like it both drew closer and yet didn't move at all. Is this how she will end? By a demon of the other side?
Hell no.
The images of her team filled her head, the laughs, the fights they had. Last one was of Garrus's warm smile. She won't let herself go out this way, even if alternative is eternity of darkness. As long as she has at least memories of them of him, she can rest easy, but that will be a problem with this thing. As long as it's here, she will not know peace.
Go to hell, motherfucker.
She snarled and punched it in the eye, now both realizing she didn't have a body to speak off, but still being able to punch it.
You bitch, you will pay for this.
Second jab to the other eye.
I have killed much bigger bastards than you.
She punched it a few more times, each one seeming to do more damage.
Fool!
The thing said between hits.
I am immortal, you foolish mortal.
Another hit. This one seemed to finally cause it to move its unmoving eyes.
Sucks to be you then.
She yelled, locking fingers and hitting the thing's side before with both like a hammer. Launching it away from her, the thing looked back at her, if it even turned around in the first place. Then it screeched and ran away.
Yeah, that's what you get, you fucker. I am here whenever you want to repeat.
She yelled as the eyes dimmed and disappeared into the infinite darkness.
Finally.
She breathed out.
Peace.
She took deep breaths.
Wait, what?
She breathed through her nose. Smells like hospital?
Was this some sort of purgatory, and now I can go to heaven?
She usually wouldn't believe in those things, but the past, what hours? Days? She couldn't put a time stamp on how long she had been fighting the thing of the dark. Anyway, she never heard that heaven smelled like disinfection.
I must still be kicking.
She laughed. She thought about what it would mean if she decided to get out there and join the living. Seemed like it would be a hassle, and everyone no doubt wouldn't care about her return apart from being a problem solver. But the images of her crew reminded her of why she fought in the first place.
I don't have time to be dead,
she said sternly to no one but herself. Swimming up, she didn't question that logic. Swimming through the air, only important thing was it was getting her closer to her target. To her goal.
I got a date.